Bonk.
Hello! For today's video, there's two things I wanted to do. One, it's Friday, which this is usually the day that I paint my nails because I can't paint my nails during the week. But I also have been wanting to talk about lately, I have been telling the internet and myself that I was going to share about my life at my last Hagwon and the reasons why I left and why I am now living in Seoul and all things surrounding that topic. So today I thought I would just combine those two chores, and now we're making this video. So for the I hit puberty at 23, that's good to know. For those of you that don't know my background, I'm gonna try and look up as much as I can in this video. I don't want to, it would be such a terrible, boring video for me to just be like this the whole time, so I'm gonna try and look up. I am a teacher in South Korea. I have been living here for just over a year now. I lived in Anyang last year, and now I'm currently living in Seoul in like the Seocho, Gangnam area. So I lived in Anyang for a year. I worked at a Hagwon there. I taught kindergarten through like 6th grade, 5th, 6th grade. And there were some things that I liked about that job. I really loved teaching kindergarten there. Like, kindergarten was amazing. And, well, parts of it were amazing, but it's also the reason why I left. So just lots of, it's a mixed bag of emotions. So I worked there for a year and things happened, which I'll get into later. And now I have gotten a new job that I started about a month ago now. And I'm currently living in the Seocho area. My new Hagwon does not have kindergarten, which makes me actually like kind of really sad because I loved teaching kindergarten. So now I just teach elementary. There's a mosquito. Ah, I got it! No. Sorry, I've been having a mosquito problem, like hardcore, in my apartment ever since I moved in, and it's really driving me like bananas up the wall. So every time I see one, I've become so paranoid that anytime like a hair on my body moves or like I see like a dust flying in the air, I just flinch so hard. I want them all to die. Anyways, yeah, now I guess I'll get into like some of the details as to why I am currently now living in Seoul and doing what I'm doing. Also, just to backtrack on the nails part of this video, I just finished, what is it, filing my nails, and so right now what I'm putting on is, it's from a brand called Mari. It's called Therapy Serum. It's the therapy serum which you use on your nails to like heal them. I actually don't really know what it does, but I'm assuming that I should use it after I like shave my nails. I'm gonna start with this peel off base coat because I've been obsessed with peel off base coats lately. Since I can only paint my nails on the weekends, it's very easy to just do it, leave it on for a few days, and then Sunday night just, like, there was supposed to be a popping sign there. Just pop them off. Then I think I'm gonna go with all black. Normally whenever I do black, I do like a matte top, but I'm not gonna do that today because I'm gonna add these little buddies. I love these. These are like a shimmery, like glitter, A friend of mine gave me this whenever she was leaving Korea, and I've been obsessed with using these. I use these whenever I did my pride nails. I use this too. And then I'm just gonna seal it with just a normal top coat. Also from Mari. Oh, it's pronounced Modi. Just kidding. It's not Mari, it's Modi. Modi top coat. So at my last Hagwon, it was my first time teaching in Korea, so I didn't really know what I was expecting. I got that job through a recruiter, which the recruiting process was fine. It was very helpful. Like, I'm very glad that I chose to do my process through them. I worked with Corvia Consulting, which is like a very popular recruiting agency for foreigners here trying to teach English in Korea. And like, that was all fine. My recruiters were great. Like, I would say I still have a relationship with them, like, you know, now. But they roped me into this, like, god-awful school, and I had no idea, because it was, you know, my first time in Korea. I didn't really care. I was so concerned that nobody was gonna hire me that whenever one school offered me a contract, I was like, yep, I'll take it. I don't care. I'm going to Korea. Which, in hindsight, I mean, may not have been the best decision. I mean, I learned some things from it, but I could have chosen way better. So this Hagwon is known for, it's a pretty big chain of Hagwons in Korea. Very reputable, like not like those shady like mom and pop Hagwons that you hear about, so like I wasn't concerned about that. And it has a reputation for being very like, not awful, just, well, some awful, and in my case was pretty awful. They're known for having really long hours but paying like really high to compensate for that. So I was like, long hours but I'm getting paid a lot, like, you know. So I decided to go for it. They offered me an interview, and then like hours later they offered me the contract, and I was like, you know what, I don't know if any other school is gonna offer me a job, because by this point it was like already like mid to late June. I was planning on leaving for Korea by August, so like I needed to like lock down a job, because it was so scary graduating college and all my friends are like getting their deals with grad schools and like getting jobs in the real world, and they're like, what are you doing, Caleb? And I'm like, I actually don't have a a job locked down yet. That was a scary like topic to talk about before graduating college. So I got to Korea and I started at my Hagwon, and at first things were okay. For my first few months it was like I started to get the hang of things, and like my first semester really wasn't that terrible. At the time I kind of thought it was, because I thought it was just like too much for me to handle, even though I was doing much less work than I was doing more towards the end, but I had no idea at the beginning. So the first like couple months were okay. There's a lot of work, and like there were some individual problems that came up there. Just the biggest thing for my first few months is that since I was new, and another one of the teachers that had started on the same line had this same problem. We were like the new ones, and also it was my first time like teaching ever, so I felt like the management kind of took advantage of that, and I felt very like personally attacked for a lot of things. So for example, there was one time, it was during my prep. We weren't allowed to call them breaks because you don't ever take breaks at this school. They were preps. It was during my prep time. I was sitting in the teacher's office because at the time we still had one. There's drama about that. If I remember, I'll talk about it later. So I was sitting at my desk, and I think I was preparing something for kindergarten, like cutting pieces of cardboard paper or something like that. And I get a call on my cell phone, and it's my academic coordinator. And he asked me, he's like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" I was like, "I'm prepping for a class tomorrow." "Why?" He said, "The vice director is looking at you on the CCTV, and she said it looks like you're not doing anything." I literally stopped. I was like on the phone. I literally stopped, and I just like stared. I kind of turned my head towards the CCTV camera, and I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, she just says it looks like you're not really like working hard, so can you just like look like you're working harder?" I was like, okay. I think what the problem was is that I was at my desk and I was not like properly like situated like this. I was kind of like, it was my, you know, it was my prep. I had been teaching, so I was tired. So I was kind of like sitting back in my chair like this and like cutting kind of relaxed. I guess that became like a thing later on, that everyone had to be sitting like this at their desk at all times and make sure that they're like are looking like they're doing proper work. Which like I kind of understand, like if parents walk by and it looks like you're just like chilling out, but like also like this is our prep time. We get like 40 minutes in the day to like not be teaching, like sit down. So that and like a myriad of other things. That was what the main issues were with my first few minutes, was just like feeling like I was being attacked for like, I was being very micromanaged, that's what it was. I have seen this problem now happen to other teachers. Whenever new teachers come in, they kind of like took off the pressure from us for a little while, and they like started doing that then to the new teachers coming after us. So it's just like a very micromanaging system. It's very overwhelming to be in a work environment where you feel like you're being watched all the time and you're never doing something well enough, like the work you're doing is never good enough, and that was just like a hard thing to deal with for an entire year. Like it gave me this sense of anxiety that any time I felt like, and I don't intentionally do things wrong, like I always try my hardest, like that's just how I am personally, like I always do what I can to do my best, like I don't mess things up just to be like, F the system, like I'm gonna like do this wrong. I don't do that. So the fact that I was trying my hardest and I was still being like called out for like, hey, why aren't you working hard enough, you need to be doing this better, blah 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 blah, I was just it was a lot. Another small little thing. So around Christmas time, the kindergarten program, we put on a Christmas concert with our students, which was too much to handle. Like the kids, they had to like memorize 3 songs in English and fully we had to choreograph dances, and they had to do it all memorized with the dances perfectly. So before we taught the dances to our kids, we had to, well, first of all, choosing songs was terrible because we couldn't have done songs that were done in the past 3 years, and it had to be approved, like they had to be approved lyrics from like a set list, and there was only like so many songs that we could choose, and there was a lot of us. So like once it got down to the end of it, I could not find good songs to use, and trying to find a song for the Christmas concert was the first time I cried at work. I was so stressed trying to find the right song, and I had been teaching all day, and I was like the middle of the week, I was so tired, I was so overwhelmed, I just went into the bathroom, I started crying, and I just like had to like take laps around the school just to like, I literally like did this whole like thing just to calm myself down. It was so ridiculous, and I knew it was ridiculous, but like that was how that environment just made me and like all of us feel like just so stressed all the time. So anyway, once we picked the song, we had, me and my Korean co-teacher, we had to film the dance so like they could approve the dance moves we were going to teach the kids, which is fine in theory, but they made us re-film the videos like at least over like a 10 or a dozen times, like so many times. And if we messed up one move, or if we didn't look confident enough on what we were doing, which we weren't because we had learned it like an hour before we filmed it, like if something was not perfect in the video, we had to refilm the entire thing. And I was like, you've got to be joking. We were filming videos for like 2 weeks because they just weren't good enough. Those little like micromanaging things were what took up my struggles in like the first half of my year working there. Okay, I think my peel off base coat is dry enough. I'm gonna start doing the black now. And here's where I need to be a lot more focused on what I'm doing, so it's gonna be a lot more of me looking down. So then we moved on to the second half of my contract, which is whenever things just kind of went immediately like more south than they already were. So like for the first half of my contract, I was pretty like okay with things. Like yeah, bad things were happening, but I was able to, you know, take the punches, I guess, and let those experiences grow me, and I didn't like think too much of it. While all my coworkers were like, you know, f this shit, we're leaving as soon as our contracts are over, I was the one in the camp that was like, you know what, it's not that bad, like we're making so much money, and like the things we're doing is not that terrible, like we can do it. But once March came around, I like switched camps so hard. Like I went Mystic to Valor, Ravenclaw to I was gonna say Ravenclaw to Valor, oh my god. Ravenclaw to Gryffindor, like I just fully switched. The things that happened to me in my second half of my contract just like set my mind straight towards I am getting out of here ASAP. So in March, the new semester was starting, so we were getting new classes. Sorry, I'm not talking a lot. I'm really trying to focus because like I don't want to mess up. So we were getting new classes, and I was told that I was going to be doing 6-year-olds again for kindergarten, which is great. Like that's what I wanted. I did 6-year-olds the first half, and I loved my class, and I loved my Korean co-teacher, and like I was happy to be doing 6-year-olds again. So at the new semester, they decided to like change all the teachers and change the our Korean co-teachers, which I really wanted to keep my co-teacher because like I thought that I worked well with my KT, and I wanted to stay with her. But she ended up getting moved to 5s, and I was staying at 6, so that didn't work out. But the co-teacher that I was getting, I thought was really great. Like, she is good with kids, and I would always see her in the hallways, and like I heard from the foreign teacher that worked with her before, and like she seemed to be like she was going to be a really good pairing. Like she's really on top of things, and she's just a really good teacher. So I was like, yes, this is going to be great. Like, we're going to have the best class ever. Blah, blah. Come to realize later that she was just a like she really was. So she's been a teacher for like over 10 years, and I've only been teaching like for, at the time, like not even a year, so obviously she knew a lot more than I did, which is fine. Like if I mess things up, I would like to be, you know, aided and corrected and guided in the right direction. But the things she would comment on were either 1, not my fault, 2, things that I weren't doing wrong, I just weren't doing it the way that she likes to do things, and we just clashed so much. Like we would like, not like argue, because I mean she's very like passive about things, and I guess I like to avoid conflict, but in our very like indirect way, we would argue all the time just about things that didn't matter. And I'm not trying to blame it all on her, because you know, like miscommunication and like arguments obviously go both ways. Like I just didn't see things her way, she didn't see things my way, so we didn't work well together at all. And like part of the problem was she treated our class like it was her class. Like it was her class, and me and the other foreign teachers that worked with her students were just like her side. We were just like in the way. Like, you can come teach them English, but like these are my kids, like don't do anything outside of like my parameters. Like you need to do things my way. Also, she would write these like things on our board, on the whiteboard, and she would write like, you know, phrases for the kids to learn, which is great. But she would write really, really big, and she would write do not erase, and she would just cover the whole board with them. I'm like, we need these boards for things other than kindergarten, and we have to use these all day long. You can't just like leave things on here and write do not erase, and we have like this much board space to teach for the rest of the day. Like, no. And so many of these things that I'm talking about, I feel like I could give like a million examples of why these were problems. And maybe later on in the future I can make more videos. Let me make a series about talking about each of the little problems that I had in my last school. The vibe was just like, this is her class, don't get in my way. And so a lot of these things you're probably saying like, Caleb, you could have fixed these if you had proper communication, which is great. I agree with you, and I trust me, I tried. One, she doesn't speak English very well, so like communication was already kind of hard, and she's also just, like I said, she's very passive. And so she doesn't like to talk to the foreign teachers much, like at all. So communication with her was very hard. And one thing that this really kind of ticked me off, and I still want to know the answer to this day. So at the beginning of the school year, we have a workshop that like all the branches of our school, we all come together and we like do this, like it's like a teacher training thing. And one of the like classes that we have to go to is like one that you go to with your Korean teacher, where you sit down, you talk about your students together, and you like get to know each other, icebreaker, and you know, like talk about how you're going to work together for that year, which is brilliant. I love that. And I was really looking forward to like getting to know her so we didn't have to argue so much. However, that day came and I was not partnered to meet with my co-teacher at the conference. So backtracking a little bit, my class had two main foreign teachers, and then we had like a third that would switch in. And there was two because I was also in charge of teaching art to like almost all of kindergarten. So I taught art to all the 6s and all the 7-year-olds. So like I didn't have a lot of time to be with just my class. So there were two of us partnered to be like assigned to my class. So at the conference they decided that teacher number 2 was going to meet with our Korean teacher and not me. And the second guy, he was new. He didn't really know like much about our school yet. He had been there for like a few weeks, and for all intents and purposes, like he even said to me, he was like, look, like I know we're both assigned to this class, but he was like, I know you're really passionate about them and you seem to like want to be going really hard with this, so like you know, treat this as your class and I'm just gonna be teaching them. Which like I tried to maintain that like you know, there's two of us plus her, like all that kind of relationship while I'm like off teaching art to the 7-year-olds on the other side of the school. Like, oh, it's just a mess. So he met with her at the conference, and instead I met with another like brand new KT who wasn't assigned a class and like was currently like with the 5-year-olds and then was with the 7-year-olds, and now she's actually teaching 6, I heard. Ever since I've left, she's now with the 6-year-old class. So they decided to partner like us two together and didn't tell us. They thought it would be a great idea. I remember one of like the head teacher talked to the vice director, like, do we need to tell him that he's not meeting with his KT? And my vice director was like, no, he'll find out when he gets there. What? I had actually found out before I was supposed to, because the night before the conference we went out drinking and one of the other foreign teachers like knew about it, and so she told me. But if she hadn't told me, like I would have had, in theory, no idea that like I wasn't meeting with my KT like I thought. So we get to the conference, I'm looking at my schedule, and sure enough, oh, and this was the thing, I was teaching 6-year-olds. They put me and this new Korean teacher, who at the time was teaching 5-year-olds, 6-year-old FT, 5-year-old KT together in this 7-year-old meeting class. What the fuck? That was the first time, I think, in the second half of my contract that I really just felt like a used tissue. Like, I was just like the leftover. Like, they are like partnered everyone together and we were just like the leftover, and they were like, well, we're just gonna like dispose of this over here. Like it's like they gave no thought to like sorry, I don't get passionate about a lot of things, but like this just gets me really worked up. So whenever we got to the conference, we were both sitting there like, who are you? Why are we here? We literally don't work together at all. Like, hi, like what? It was so stupid. I'm gonna take a break for a second to like paint my nails because I need to finish this hand.
Getting too heated.
Baby, I don't. No. No. I fucked it up. Now I just look like I like rubbed my hand in like tar. I'll come back. Alright, I think I got it as good as we're gonna get, but it's fine because we're gonna be adding glitter on top, so you won't be able to tell that I like messed anything up. That's the goal anyway. So moving past the conference into like the final months of my contract. So after the whole like conference fiasco and not getting along with my like Korean co-teacher, I had decided, like, this is whenever I told you like I switched camps. I was just like no longer even considering staying. I was like, I am getting out of here the day my contract is over. So like I was telling you, I was also in charge of teaching art to the 6s and the 7-year-olds. I was the only art teacher aside from the 5s, so that means I was in charge of everything. But you know how much I was trained about how to like deal with art things? Zero. I was trained zero. I was told nothing about what to do, how to do it, how to order supplies, like how to like properly prepare for an art class. I just went off the knowledge that I knew from teaching art in the previous semester, and I thought that would be fine. It wasn't fine. Sorry, I like add little like nervous laughs at the end of everything I say because things are just so ridiculous that I have to like laugh about it a little bit because I just can't believe that these things actually happen. In my first few months of teaching art, I messed up a lot of things. In the previous semester, we would change the plans for art a lot. If we didn't have certain supplies, or like if we just didn't have time to do something in our schedule, we would just change it, because you know, that's what you do. Like if things in class don't work, you change them. But there was the problem of I like didn't notify like the higher ups that I was gonna be changing things, which like I kind of understand. But then part of it was just my Korean co-teacher. Like I said, she liked to feel like this was her class. First of all, I had to give her like fully detailed lesson plans, which, oh my god, I could make an entire 10-minute rant about the lesson plans we had to do, which I'll do later. But she was the only Korean co-teacher that required her foreign teachers to give her the lesson plans that they were doing. Most of the other Korean teachers would just like come in during class, and if they saw we needed something, they would help. I think that was great. Like I worked with all the other co-teachers with art, and that's how things happened, and I think that was a good way to do it. My KT needed fully detailed lesson plans, and if I was going to change it, I needed to let her know. Which like her thought process was if she needed to prepare something, she could do it ahead of time, but again, just like taking too much control of the class. For the first few art projects, like I like took executive control, and I just like decided we were gonna like not use certain materials or like change the steps and how we did things, and that just did not fly with her. She would tell me like they gave us these materials, why wouldn't you use them? I was like, oh, you know, we don't have time for this, like they're not, like we just ran out of time at the end of class, and so I just changed how we finished the project. And she was like, why didn't you have enough time? Like, why didn't you use the materials? I was like, I just told you! Like, we ran out of time! It happens! This was like their first like 3 weeks of my students starting, and they're 6 years old. They're Korean 6, so they're like Western like 5, 4. And I was like, this is gonna like, that should be the title of this video, just So I guess that she got annoyed enough that she started telling our vice director that I was like messing up art projects. So I had to have like multiple meetings with my vice director. Some of our meetings happened like 2 hours after my contracted hours had finished for the day, and I was just there staying late because I had so much work to do, and she decided to have a meeting with me at 9:30 at night when I was supposed to leave at 7:40. So whenever I was messing up all these art projects, this is whenever I got my first verbal warning from my vice director. She said if you don't start improving or like doing things better or like communicating better, if you just don't stop sucking, like things are gonna happen. I don't know what was gonna happen, like they weren't gonna fire me. And like I told you early on in this video, like I did not mess things up ever intentionally. Like I always do my very best, and other people can vouch for this. Like they knew I was trying so hard. We worked 10 hours a day, and I would get there 30 minutes early. We would finish at 7:40, and I would stay there until like oftentimes until 9:30, even until like the evening teachers got off at 10. Like that was what I would do every day. So it's not like I was just slacking off and messing up. Like I was doing my damnedest. Sorry, my mom watches these. I was doing my hardest, like trying to just like do well, and it just wasn't good enough. And so I got a verbal warning. These things continued on, you know, like the victimization, the bullying by my vice director and my co-teacher continued on through March. I remember in March, I was having like a mental breakdown towards the end of March, being like, I can't do this, like I can't stay here and take this like attack getting from other teachers here. So I remember I like talked to the other foreign teachers, and I called my mom, and I like talked to Christian about it. Like I was just like, I need advice, like what do I do? Like I feel like I'm gonna midnight run, just like leave and then like find another job and then like come back. I don't know, like I wanted to escape so badly, and I thought about just leaving in the middle of the night and not coming back, and I would not have felt sorry for it. I would have felt like 5% sorry, but that like I was so done with like being bullied by the higher ups, I guess, at my school. So this continued on for March, April, May, and my foreign teachers were just like, you should just leave. Like, why are you like sticking through this? And like I was saying, I have like a personal like, I don't like to quit, and I feel like I always need to feel like I'm doing my best. So I made like a personal goal for myself. I was like, I'm gonna stick through this and see it to the end, and then at the end of it I can say, look, I did that. I stuck through all this like torture and like torment that they were giving me and come out on the other side. So once June came, things started to lighten up like a little bit. I started to learn how to like not like press my KT's buttons and not how to get in trouble with the vice director and just like go about my business and kind of just like go under the radar a little bit, which is all I wanted. Like I didn't even like need them to praise me for doing well, because apparently I wasn't, and I didn't want them to attack me for doing poorly. I just wanted to go like under the radar, unnoticed, because by this point, by the time June came, like I was gone mentally. Like I was just like, I'm done here. So I just did my business, did the best I could, and then I was just ready to leave. So things started to get better. June and July were okay. I spent more of June and July trying to focus more on myself. That's actually whenever I started filming YouTube videos again, because I like was not so focused on like the drama that was going on at school, and I was focusing more on like my own personal ventures. So I started vlogging again. I like went out with friends more, and also at this time I was looking for new jobs because I had decided that I wasn't staying there like any longer than I possibly had to. So it was during this time that I actually found a place that was hiring, move on later in a couple months, and is the current school I'm at now. And so I was like doing my process with, like to work on getting hired and like starting at this new school that I'm working at now in Seoul. So my last few months there were honestly, they were okay. Like things settled down. Not a lot of drama happened to me. To others, yeah, which I got to see, I guess, like from a bird's eye view. Drama with me had kind of subsided by the time summer came, so I was happy about that. And then August came around, so like time to finish my contract, which I was really annoyed by my contract ending date, which like there's more drama with that. My contract ended on a Wednesday, and there was a holiday like the day before on a Tuesday. There was a national holiday. Also, the last week at my last school I was supposed to be training at my new school. Like that was the week set aside for training, and so like I had to miss some of the training because I had to like finish my last few days at my previous school. And with that extra day in the middle, it was just so inconvenient. And also I had to move out of my apartment in Anyang the weekend before my last week, so I moved to Seoul. So like for the Monday and Wednesday that I went for my last week, I was commuting from Seoul, which like is not that far. It's only about 45 minutes, but it's 45 minutes there and back that I could have been sleeping. Like I woke up so early because it was terrible. So like my 11-12 hour days turned into like 13+ hour days, and that was just a nightmare. But I finished out my contract, and like towards the last few days my vice director actually tried to like convince me to stay till the end of the week, and I had like I couldn't because I needed to do training at least a little bit at my new school, and also I just didn't want to. Like any favor the school wanted me to do for them in my last few weeks, like I tried not to be rude about it, but I just didn't want to do it. I was just like, you've given me no reason this whole year to like want to happily like go out of my way to inconvenience myself to help you. Like I was just not willing to do that. Look, we're almost done. I'm gonna let these dry and finish up here. But on my last day, I said all my goodbyes. You know, I had my exit interview with my vice director, and then right like a couple hours before I left for the last time, you know, she gave me a hug. She said, if you ever need anything, like you can let us know, and like we're here to help you. And so now I guess let me just kind of summarize my experience there. I don't go out looking for like things that are wrong. I try to think very positively about things. Like I don't have an outlook on life where like, oh, if things are terrible, it's just gonna make my whole life horrible. Like I never had that approach, and whenever things were going wrong, I tried to be optimistic about it and just like remember that this is just life. Things that are bad today, just take it in, go home, sleep, come tomorrow, and it'll be over. Like I've had that approach a lot of the year, which I felt like really did train me a lot as a person. It made, like, working at this school made me a lot stronger as a human being. So I can at least say that positively about the school, as I'm a lot stronger now, I guess, as a teacher and just as like a person that doesn't give a shit about anything. The higher ups of my school were not terrible mean people. Like they weren't, I've heard horror stories of like terrible like dragon lady, like just manipulative and like mean like heads of schools, directors, principals, whatever, and they weren't that. They were very nice. They just wanted what was best for the school. Like I understood that. It's just the way that they went about some of their things I just could not get on board with. And like whenever I would be having problems and my vice director would find out, she would say, well, why didn't you come to me sooner and tell me about this? One, she never made herself seem personally available to come to her. Like nobody wanted to, because she was very distant like every other time besides if we were like in trouble. And so like there was no part of me that wanted to go to her to like talk about these problems. And also the problems with my Korean teacher, because during my exit interview I told my vice director about the problems with my KT, and that was the main reason why I was leaving. She's like, well, why am I just hearing about this now? Why didn't you tell me about this whenever it was happening? And I was like, because by the time that my KT problems were happening, there were already enough things that had happened prior that I had decided that like I was already gonna leave anyway, and there was no fixing what was going on, because like she's set in her ways. She's been teaching for 10 plus years. Like there was nothing that was really gonna be fixed. Like the way I needed to go about it was just like to slide under and just like get through it and then leave, and that's what I chose to do. So I got out of my terrible Hagwon situation and impressed a lot of the foreign teachers there. Like the ones that told me that I should just like midnight run in March, they were so surprised that like I was able to stick it through a whole year after everything that happened to me. And I have plenty more stories. Like I might make this a video series, I guess, like a mini series, I guess, talking about like individual problems that like not just me wanting to like complain about my old school. I mean, it's a little bit that, but also just so like people can know like these are the things that could happen to you if you come and teach in Korea. Like these are problems you could face, because I faced them. They're real things that can happen to real people. And that's more kind of what this video is. It's me personally ranting about personal things, but I've ranted already. Like this has been like a year in the process. Like I've already gotten out my griefs about this and moved on. Now it's just me sharing to, I guess, the internet, telling you if you want to teach in Korea, these are things that could very well happen to you and to like look out for, I guess. But now, in a happy ending, I have escaped my terrible Hagwon situation, and I am currently living in Seoul. I got a new job in like the Sachol Gangnam area. I get 3-day weekends almost every weekend, which is fabulous. The one drawback is I'm making a lot less money at this new school, but this conversation I was having with myself whenever I was trying to decide where I was gonna go after my terrible Hagwon was, did I care more about the money I was making or just like free time and just overall happiness in my own life? And in the end I chose the happiness. I didn't choose the money, and you know, it's still pretty early on, so we'll see if I regret that decision and if I end up eating ramen every single day just to survive. But I don't think so, because I'm like, I'm not making that little of money. Like I'm making enough to get by. I just won't be saving as much, I guess, as I did before. I think I need to stop it there. Here are the finished nails though. Aren't they pretty? I love them. I would focus, but then I don't think I'd be able to refocus it again, so I'm just gonna show you like this. Aren't they great? Alright, I'm gonna stop there. I'm done ranting, my nails are finished being painted, and I have other things I need to do today, so I'm gonna go. If you found this at all helpful, share it to others that this might be relevant to, and you know, do all the things, like, share, subscribe, etc. I don't really give a shit. Do whatever you want to do. I just need, this is more for me than for you, but I hope that you get something out of this too. Okay, I'm gonna go, bye!